I hate to disappoint y'all, but I took the short straw this morning. No, we're good to fill in while Doug's gone and hope they have a great trip in doing what they're doing. And appreciate all of you all here who have helped support all of our ministries and missions that we've been able to embark on in the last few years. I appreciate your help in that and continued prayers. Trying to think about some of the things that to talk about and share with you this morning for just briefly. You know, I don't know about you, but it seemed like the last 3 or 4 weeks of our ministry has been very difficult. It's been trying, it's been painful, and it's hurt. It's really hurt. And today I want to have this thing that's thought of a question that I had come to my mind. What hurts today? What hurts today? And I was doing some research on some of these things and just share with you. This was based on a global survey, not just here, but worldwide. And I've narrowed it down to like 100 people, which is about what we normally have here on Sunday mornings. Out of the 100 people, you have physical, emotional, mental pains of all different types. And this is physical pain, like I guess maybe I have a knee hurts, my back hurts, or my finger hurts where I cut it, or whatever has happened. Chances are that 32 of you in here this morning have something that's hurting. If you went by this global statistics. Now, you may not want to admit that it hurts. It may hurt just enough that you don't want to complain about it. About 25% may be suffering from chronic pain, something that's just been nagging you for a long time, and you've learned to deal with it. You've learned to accept it. You've learned to just suffer through it. About 23% suffer from some type of mental pain. We've talked about the word, the mental thing has been thrown around here a lot in the last couple of years, that it's okay to be messed up. I'm okay to be a little bit crazy sometimes. And I know Amy can attest that sometimes my craziness is a little bit crazy. Nearly 40% may be suffering from emotional distress. It could be, all kinds of things. There could be somebody in here, in this crowd, or in a group like this today, who has, you've lost a job, or you didn't get that promotion that you wanted, or there may be something that's deeper that I'm having trouble with my marriage. Let's be honest, sometimes we do. We may be still working through a sick loved one, overcoming the pain of a lost one. All those types of things that cause us pain and discomfort, from physical, mental, emotional, all those things that it causes. And if we look at what Jesus had to offer those in that, is where we're going to be going today with just a couple, 2 or 3 different verses that I want to bring out to help us just see what the Bible has to offer, and what words of comfort that we can get from Jesus that will help us overcome our hurts. Many in the recovery industry, they're like CR, they'll use it as, some of those things that adds to overcoming is our hurts, habits, and hang-ups. They use that term a lot. And I think that's scriptural. We have our hurts, our own habits, and our little hang-ups. But what does the Bible have to offer? What does God have to say to us that will help us just briefly grab hold of something that can help us hang on just a little bit longer? As you can see, I don't have a PowerPoint this morning. So I'm calling on the power of some of my brethren to help me with Scripture. Chris, you want to come up? Go ahead and read yours.
Matthew 11:28 through 30. Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light.
Thank you. Come to me, all you labor, heavy laden. All these things that cause us pain are things that we try to carry alone sometimes, don't it? But we don't have to do this alone. It's like today, the sermon that we're working here, I'm not doing this alone. Because we all need help from time to time. And it's okay to ask for help. And it's okay to know where to go for help. And Jesus himself has said, bring it to me. Has he not? Bring it to me. I'll take it for you. And you go back and look at his life and what he did and how he lived, gives us hope. Gives us the chance to be able to overcome those things that may be dragging us down in our lives. And it could be, I was thinking earlier about the story of Joseph and how he went through all those trials that he went through. His family was mean to him. Threw him in a hole. They sold him off as a slave. He ends up in prison. He ends up working. But then he sooner or later comes, second in command. But he went through a lot of pain, a lot of discomfort throughout his life. Brian, come on up here. I want to have Brian read a scripture that goes along with this, and it's always it's kind of like this passage here is kind of like the highlight of that whole 40-something years of his 50 years of his life. It's kind of like the highlight of what God was building up. And if we look at that, what's God doing in our lives? What pain are we going through right now that sooner or later is going to be revealed in such a wonderful way? Go ahead and read yours.
Yeah. Genesis 50, number 19 and 20. But Joseph said to them, do not fear, for am I in the place of God? As for you, and you meant evil against me, but God meant it for good, to bring it about that many people should be kept alive as they are today.
So all those things that Joseph went through that caused him actually physical pain, the mental pain, God meant all that for good. And I sometimes question, I have to be honest, sometimes I question God, some of the things that I've gone through and look back at, do you really think this is going to be good for me? Really? And, it's amazing to see what God can do if you let him. Sometimes we get in our own way of not letting God work through our lives, especially when we're going through some difficult and painful times in our lives. It says, come to me, give it to me, And then at the end, see what happened, what all that has, God has meant that for good, because all the good that came out about it during that time. And if we think about some of the characters we've got, Joseph in the Old Testament, we know what Christ went through, but, I think about the Apostle Paul and all the things that he went through and suffered with. I'm gonna Gary, you come up here. I'm gonna have him read something and pay attention to some of the things that have gone through, and get in your mind what has hurt during those times.
It's a reading from 2 Corinthians 11:23-28. Are they ministers of Christ? I speak as a fool. I am more, and labors more abundant, and stripes above measure, and prisons more frequent, and deaths oft. Of the Jews 5 times received I 40 stripes, save one. Thrice was I beaten with rods, once was I stoned, thrice I suffered shipwreck, a night and a day have been in the deep. In journeyings often, in perils of waters, in perils of robbers, in perils of mine own countrymen, in perils by heathen, in perils in the city, in perils in the wilderness, in perils in the sea, in perils among false brethren, in weariness and painfulness, and watchings often, and hunger and thirst, and fastings often, in cold and nakedness, beside those things that are without, that which cometh upon me daily, the care of all the churches.
Thank you. Paul went through a lot there, didn't he? You think of all the things that he went through that would be physical and mental to somebody. He went through a lot. And who's to say that we can't go through a lot ourselves? But we have to have God in our lives and have to be willing to accept what is happening to us. Sometimes we don't always know, I don't always know the reason why. Why did something happen? Why did this hurt thing come to my life? I don't always have to know the why. I just have to know the person who is able to help take care of that pain, which is Jesus. We already seen that through his life and what he's done. We've seen it through others. We've seen it through all the things of the Old Testament, the characters that went through so many adversity type things that brought him out better on the other end. And we look at Paul's life and what he's gone through and all the, I can't imagine all that stuff being, in just a short amount of time, all those things that happened. You would think that, I don't know how many times I would have already given up after being shipwrecked the first time, or the second time. Or, how many more times I want to get beat. But he kept on. He kept on. And then, lastly this morning, look at, this has always been a story that has been real dear to me. What Jesus did in this man's life, without even asking for it. A lot of times when we're hurting, we're seeking pain. We're seeking relief from that pain. We'll go to the doctor. We'll ask Google. We'll ask Alexa or whoever. What's going on here. We're trying to, YouTube some type of exercise that's going to help us feel better. We're always looking for something like that, right? But through Jesus is where the true comfort comes, regardless of what we're having to go through in our lives. Trent, I want to have Trent come up here read the last passage for us today. That y'all may have heard this story from me before, but we're going to do it one more time.
This is John 5, 2 through 5.
6.
6.
Yep, 6.
Sorry. Now there is in Jerusalem by the sheep gate a pool in Aramaic called Bethsaida, which has 5 roof colonnades. In these lay a multitude of invalids, blind, lame, and paralyzed. One man was there who had been an invalid for 38 years. When Jesus saw him laying there and knew he had already been there a long time, he said to him, "Do you want to be healed?"
Thank you. Two things I want to bring out of this passage right here. Jesus knew his condition. Did he not? He knew his condition. He'd been suffering for 38 years. He knew his condition. Now think with me. If he knew his, does he know mine? Does he know what I have that's hurting? Besides the knee pain or the finger hurt, deep down, what's hurting? What's hurting in your lives today? What is there? Is it resentment? Is it anger? All those are natural things that happen to us, but Jesus knows about those things. And he asked one simple question. Do you want to be healed? Do you want to be healed? He didn't ask him to, I need you to jump up and down. I need you to do this. I need you to do that. I need you to make sure you're coming into church every time the door's open. I need you to do this. I need you to work on this. You want to be healed. You want to be healed. It was simple for him. Take up your bed and go home. Pick up your bed and go home. We know the steps that needs to be taken. We know the importance of the baptism, the confession, all those things. Sometimes that's the easy part. The easy part to becoming a Christian. The hard part is the living of the Christian. It's those day in and day outs that get difficult. That's when Satan is attacking us the hardest, is when he thinks that Jesus has us. So as Chris read, lay it as his. Give it to Jesus. Give it to him. He's going to take care. That's his burden. It's not ours. Give it to him. Whatever you have to do to give it to him, hand it over to him. And look on his eyes that says, when he asks you, do you want to be healed? Yes. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I don't know what your need is this morning. I don't know what hurt that you have. But I know there's people here that love you, that want to love you, that are open to helping overcome those hurts. Whatever it may be. You need to come up here this morning and talk to us, or meet us after church, and over here in the room, we can do that. Offer that to you now as we come and have Rocky lead us in the song.